Welcome to Detroit Comics Party. This is episode 59, and today we are here with our first incorporeal guest. We have wonderful artist Mr. Bloodworld is with us today. Hello. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm good.
Good. It's a pleasure to have you on. We pretty much just know each other through Instagram, I guess, mostly. Fully?
Yeah, right.
And
we almost met. But.
Yeah, so close. I wanted to have you on. We wanted to talk to you about your art and kind of where you're coming from. Where are you based out of right now?
Boston, or Cambridge, more specifically.
Okay, cool. But you are from this area, are you not?
Yeah. I lived out here for a while, but I grew up in Detroit and moved away in my mid-20s, and still visit often. Not as often as I'd like to or used to, but
yeah.
But yeah, I still got a lot of a lot going on in Detroit all the time.
That's cool.
So the chances of meeting in person would still be possible in a future time.
Oh, definitely. It'll happen again.
Cool, I hope so.
How do we get do you have comic books? How do I not have any? Or are you just an internet?
Come again?
Are you just an internet presence, or do you have books and I somehow just don't have them?
At the moment, no. I did make 2 different books, but it might surprise you that I actually just made them for Detroit Comics Party 2 years ago. It's shocking to hear that much time has passed, but yeah, when you invited me to that, I thought, well, okay, I can throw some things together, and I did. I made 2 comics, and after that, that kind of fell apart. I couldn't make it, and then I just got cold feet on the comics, and I thought, well, maybe I'll slow down and take it a little bit slower and make sure they're perfect. So I guess that's what I'm doing now with the comics. I'm perfecting them.
Yeah, well, it's like you have a problem I don't have, which is it seems like you are constantly making work, and then someone else just has to come along and say, hey, like, why don't you put all those into a book? Like, make a book. Like, I have the opposite problem where, like, I want to make a book, but I'm not making drawings every day.
Yeah, definitely the opposite. I can't stop drawing. It's like I just kind of got into this whole thing by accident because of that, I would say. Yeah,
so you I think I've heard you say, or stalked you enough to know that you are like, you've been drawing and painting and creating artwork since you were pretty young, like since you're a kid, and like we're doing some pretty impressive stuff even in like high school. What was that like for you when you were that age? Like, was it something that you did socially, or was it this like a kind of like a escaping type of activity for you?
Yeah, I would say I was pretty obsessed as a younger person, especially as a teenager. I always wanted to play in a band and make comics and all that kind of thing. But as I got older, I would say I lost interest in doing it.
Yeah. Was there anything that like brought you back to it, or like made you want to try to do more of it?
Well, sure. There's a lot of things. Every now and then something will happen that kind of makes me do one or the other, music or comics. But most recently it was just my girlfriend got an iPad from her parents, and she got the stylus and stuff and showed me, like, look, you can draw on this thing. It's so cool. And so every night when I would be just sitting in bed watching TV, I just started drawing. I was like, wow, this is great. It's free, and I can just draw as much as I want. I don't have to worry about art supplies or screwing up. And so that's kind of how I got into this batch of comics, I guess. I don't really know how to.
So,
are you fucking kidding me?
You drew all that stuff on your Instagram on an iPad?
What's that?
You drew all that stuff on your Instagram on an iPad?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. I'm done.
That's why I started Instagram too, because of the iPad. Like, I don't even use Instagram on my phone. I barely know how to use the smartphone. So I just I realized that you could do apps on the tablet, you know?
Yeah.
So like, oh, that's cool. I'll do this Instagram thing that some of my friends were doing.
Oh,
damn.
I do have this vision of you like hunkered over like a 1940s drafting table that weighs 500 pounds, like
Nice.
with ink
I've got
on your
one of
fingers.
those too. It's
Yeah.
sadly underused.
Yeah. I picture like it's like that, but there's also a lot of cool like world knickknacks around that have been collected, and like interesting birds and stuff
Yeah, there's
around
a lot
you.
of that.
You got a lot of
There's
birds.
a lot of that. Yeah, we've been, mostly my girlfriend has been running a vintage resale operation for years now.
Oh.
And so she goes to estate sales and garage sales it's sort of a hobby at this point, but our house is a storage for that.
That's
And
cool.
It's like living in an antique shop.
That sounds
cool.
super cool. Yeah, so you said like a lot of your work has some like geometric inspiration to it, I feel like, or like mathematical inspiration. I think like we've talked before, and I think you said your girlfriend is heavily into that world.
Yeah,
does
definitely.
Does
She
that kind of
collaborates on
influence your
Bloodworld
stuff?
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I love that stuff too, but she's a mathematician, and in her spare time she likes to make math art, and so she contributes to Bloodworld sometimes. But yeah, I definitely love that kind of thing. Drafting is like a big part of my art education, I would say.
Cool.
So it's like that kind of precise technical drawings and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
You know, not
That's
for any
super cool.
heavy reason or anything. It's just like it, grew up doing it, all that kind of stuff.
Intense technical dedication and a mathematician living in Cambridge? No. Do you guys have...
Yeah, we fit in.
Do you have MIT connections?
Yeah. She went to MIT, and
There you
she's
go.
also a DJ on the MIT radio station, WMBR.
Awesome.
Long time Mike friend and former guest of the show, Ed Platt, is that
both
man
of those
too.
things. Yeah. I think last time I was
Interesting.
in the MBR studio, I think I was drunk on Sparks and peed my pants.
That's true.
Boy, that really was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm also glad you can hear it every time we kick the table really hard with my shin.
I didn't know what that was.
It's a big drum we've got. But you like, okay, so if I had to describe kind of your work, since we have a hard policy not to ever show any artwork on the show. You know, it's very like science fiction influenced, a lot of like psychedelic stuff, but there's also a lot of this like kind of Eastern influence to it, and then on top of that too, like this like clear Midwestern like kind of like a fascination with like Midwestern architecture. And I think, like, is it fair to say in particular the mall?
Yeah, malls. I love malls. Yeah, old malls, not new malls, but old malls. I love. Yeah. Those are all things that I like a lot, or love a lot even.
Was there anything like when you were growing up that pushed you in that direction? Like, did you have friends or parents or books or something that was driving you in that direction?
To like all that different stuff? I would just say it's just the stuff that I grew up seeing, you know. And now when I'm making art, I'm just kind of tapping into, you know, if I sit down to make a drawing or try to come up with an idea for a drawing, I generally just kind of think like, what kind of, you know, thing like that is seems interesting. I don't know. Whether it's a shopping mall, and those other things you mentioned.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like talk for you or anything, but yeah. So, are you influenced by dreams a lot of times? Because I think I've seen you write a lot of things about like this came from a dream, or I had this dream 4 million times. Like it's stuck in my head.
Not
Like,
so
does
much
that happen
for my
a lot?
drawings, but
No.
yeah, not too much for the drawings, but I have a handful of stories that I will eventually illustrate or tell otherwise, and those are almost exclusively from dreams. All of the stories that I have.
Can you tell us one?
Tell a dream story?
Yeah.
They're kind of hard to tell. I mean, it's just like that's kind of why I started drawing them in the first place. I was like, this is hard to describe, so I should draw them instead. So if I want to tell somebody about it, they can see all these images and know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But
it is hard. So when you draw when you draw it, do you immediately feel like I've done it, I've captured this dream, and like I'm
Never.
explaining it correctly, or do you do a ton of like editing and redrawing things?
no, not at all. All of my drawings are just like one take, and it takes like a day or two. maybe a couple of days, and then I just forget about it forever.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I'm not really like I don't feel like so in control of it that I feel like I'm hitting the mark that I'd like to, you know, like this is what I want to do, and I'm doing it. I'm just kind of doing what I can do.
Yeah.
And trying to have fun doing it. I guess at this point, you know, maybe that will change hopefully that would change in the future. But
well, it looks like you're slaving over it. Your stuff is so good, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it. Don't get me wrong, I like it. It's just not necessarily like what I see in my head yet, you know.
Sure. Yeah. So like when you were younger, like what are some of the specific things that you were kind of taking in that made you go in this direction, or like maybe like different things that kind of you pulled like a particular element of style from or something like that? You have anything like that made a big like impact on you?
Sure, lots of stuff. TV, watch a lot of TV growing up, especially old horror movies. You know, they used to have the creature double feature. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know what that is, but on Sunday afternoon they would have 2 horror movies on like channel 20 or something.
Uh-huh.
And they'd always be these old, sort of obscure, sort of not very great movies, but they had cool. They had a cool look, you know, and a cool vibe going on. So I love that. Album covers. I loved album covers as a kid.
Was it like metal stuff, or like what?
No, I would say my parents' records, which were kind of classic rock, I guess. For the most part. But really, I mean, you know, classic rock album covers have a lot of really great art on them.
I was just guessing metal because, like, I saw that picture you put on your Instagram of you in, like, high school.
Oh, yeah, by that time. I mean, like, earlier influences than that.
Oh, okay. So you were drawing, like, a long time before that, like, when you were really young?
I would say most of what I try to tap into is more like elementary school era or time, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that traumatized you forever instead of just inspired you now.
A particular traumas, yeah.
Was it right away, like when you're watching those movies, like was it right away like I love this and I feel comfortable here, or was it like
definitely
creepy scary town?
No, not really. I feel like seeing stuff like Scooby-Doo and Casper the Ghost in like the cartoons, it was like stuff was creepy, you know, all over the place. Addams Family and the Munsters were on TV, like Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I did gravitate towards the creepier stuff, but also it was just like my parents. My dad would watch that kind of stuff, and so it was just always on the TV.
I was always like terrified of that stuff.
Yeah, I was forced into it.
Yeah.
One of the first memories I have is watching the Amityville Horror. I think it was broadcast on TV sometime in the late 70s, which is pretty weird. But
was it like uncut?
Well, I was like 2 or 3 years old, so I'm not sure. But
did you notice if there was anything missing when you were 3?
What's that?
Did you notice if there was anything missing when you were 3?
I'll have to consult my diary. From back then. I remember taking notes about that. But yeah, I remember like there's like a scary face in the fireplace, something like that. It's pretty damn scary.
Yeah. How did you meet your girlfriend? Like, did you like? I'm always interested in how two people who are, you know, artists in various ways like get together and, you know, end up hanging out.
Right. She was a customer at the video store that I worked at. And she had really good taste in movies, so that was all it took.
That's good. That's
awesome.
Such a nice answer.
But like,
like
of course, it's something like that. I feel like
actually, she would spend like 2 hours in the video store just browsing through stuff. And that's what really impressed me. I was like, wow, 2 hours just like walking around looking at all this stuff. It's pretty crazy. But that's what I would do. So
yeah,
I felt like that was the right person for me. But also, once I discovered her name from renting videos to her, I knew that she was. I knew her from the radio show.
Like that, she had a radio show?
Yeah, she still has a radio show. It's been going on for 16, 17 years now.
Wow, that's cool. What's the radio show?
It's called Nonstop Ecstatic Screaming, and it's on WMBR.
Sweet.
Are you allowed to like? I mean, this isn't commercial TV. You can say anything, right?
Huh? You could say whatever you want. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You just can't sell anything.
You can. If you're not in the Boston area, you can listen to it online at WMBR.org.
Cool.
And you can hear it live. She's on Thursday, 8 to 10, right now, actually.
Cool. Right now?
She's going to start in a few minutes, I guess.
What?
Perfect timing.
Cool. Is she going to tell you to shush in a minute?
Oh, no, she's at the radio station.
Oh, okay. Wait, not everybody just does a show at their house?
No, this is a real radio station. They have a huge record library, all the stuff, sound booths. Great.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What do you, so I don't know, like, I know you are happy drawing and, you know, when other people put a bunch of pressure on you, make books. What else are you interested in doing? Like, what do you want to do in the future? Like, are there any other like mediums or any other type of like projects that you want to work on?
As far as art, really what I'd like to do is make films, but I don't have enough people in my life giving me a hand to do that. So I feel like drawing is kind of what I have available. So it's honestly, a lot of the times that I'm drawing, I think of it as even
like a storyboard or something?
Storyboard. I feel like I'm storyboarding a lot of the time. Or just imagining what this would look like, you know, recording this feeling or image for some future film. You know, who knows if that will actually happen. But as an artist, that's kind of my main goal. I'm just not doing much to achieve it right now.
Oh, this sounds like we need to take all our vacations at the same time.
Yep.
And you need to come up to Detroit.
Oh, man. That would be great.
Do something
There's a
like
bunch
that.
of movies I want to shoot in Detroit. There's like certain locations that are just so Michigan.
Yeah.
And I've got to get there with a 16mm camera
Mm-hmm.
and just shoot it in a couple days.
Do you have the camera?
Yeah, I have a friend who will loan me a 16mm camera. I have a couple of 8mm ones that I play around with.
Cool. I think I saw like have you shot some material already?
Yeah, I play around with it a lot. 8mm has been a long time since I've done it, but I have some video cameras, some vintage video cameras that have a cool look. I play with that.
So what is the story that you're working on there? Like what is Bloodworld? What is this world of blood?
Yeah, well, Bloodworld, the name itself came from a dream, and then I wrote a story called Bloodworld. Well, it was called Bloodworld at the time, and then I just decided this is pretty good, and I have a lot of weird dreams, so I should just call the whole world Bloodworld of all these dream stories. That's basically what it is. I mean, I use it for a lot of different things, but really that's what it is. It's just like a name for all of these dream stories that I have.
If you had to describe like the overall, like what's the feeling you have when you're in this world, or like what is this world like? Like what would you tell people about that?
Well, when that first happened, the friend that I was hanging out with a lot at the time, we started to use Bloodworld as an adjective for a lot of things. Like if we would have some certain weird day or something, we'd be like, man, this is totally Bloodworld. I wish I could remember one of those instances. That would help you to get the idea, but I can't remember a single one. I think on the more boring end, taking a vacation to Portugal, we called Bloodworld.
My mother died in a car crash. It was very Bloodworld that day.
That's maybe too harsh. I think Bloodworld has to be a little more like the aftermath, or a year later, thinking back on it or something.
The Bloodworld is when you meet again.
Yeah.
right, exactly. There's not a lot of action in Bloodworld. It's pretty boring.
It's just a scary
But
world where
cool.
things exist. Yeah.
That's my favorite vision, where like it's this extreme, fantastic, fantasy, psychedelic vision, but it's very boring.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fun,
I
fun,
feel the
boring.
same way. It's like I want to see the most boring day in a totally different world.
Yeah, right. I love watching movies like that. There's so many arty movies where it's just like somebody in a factory in China or something.
Yeah.
Just 3 hours.
Or even like the monster standing still is much scarier than the monster on the rampage sometimes.
Oh, yeah, right. The
Uh-huh.
jumping out, it's just cheap cliches and stuff.
You gotta stay in the shadows.
Definitely.
There's like a weird echo.
I
now.
hear that now.
Are we in Bloodworld now?
I hope
Is
so.
this what it's like?
There you go. That's Bloodworld. You got there.
I can hear us like a second in the future. I don't. It went away.
Divine
I'm fine.
Oh, he just checks his pulse.
Damn. Oh boy. Well, what else? What else do you want to tell people about? What you're doing, and like where can they find everything that you have up, and like how do you want them to interact with what you already have up?
They cannot. They can only friend me on Instagram.
That's the
And,
gateway.
That's the beginning and the end of Bloodworld at the moment. But I don't know. I've got a lot of things, in the works. So it'll be there.
Cool.
It'll get there. I'll get there.
Cool.
Can you send us all those books that you made for Comics Party 2 years ago?
What about them?
Can
Can
you
you send them to us?
I'll send you a better one. I keep, every time that I sort of alter it, I print up a new one. I've been just printing them on a home printer. But a pretty nice one. So.
Cool. Well, yeah. We'd
But
love to have
I'll print you up
all we
a
can
new
get.
one and mail it to you.
We'll
Yes.
take them.
For sure,
We'll take them
for sure.
around. Yeah.
Sure, there's other stuff too.
Cool. Well, I think we're out of time already. So thank you very, very much for coming on
Thank
the
you.
show. I appreciate you being on, and I hope we get to visit Bloodworld soon.
Yeah, definitely, anytime.
All right, cool. Well, we'll see you guys next time, and thanks for watching Detroit Comics Party. Goodbye.
Cell phone.